you heard this quote before? That insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, in this episode, we're going to help you break that pattern with 5 tips to set you and your team up for success in the next year. If you have ever hoped your team were a little bit better in objective setting, or frankly, you don't love it yourself, but you feel like perhaps there's a little bit more gas in the tank, performance isn't quite where you want it, then listen up. I'm Chloe Temple, the founder of Pop and the Ultimate Offsite, and today we're going to share how you can use the ultimate success formula in your quarterly planning processes, both to achieve your personal and professional goals. So stick around. At some point, I'm going to share how exactly you can get your hands on the exact quarterly strategic planning resource that I use myself with my private clients and the teams that I work with. But before we share that, had you heard that quote before? It's likely if you had that you thought that it was Einstein, but it wasn't. See, that quote has been in my top 5 quotes for almost 10 years, and over that time I have been giving sole credit to my soul buddy, Einstein. Actually, turns out it's Rita Mae Brown, who's a civil rights campaigner. Now you might be thinking, well, how is this relevant? Why does this matter? But the point I wanted to kick off with is that how often is it that we get stuck in ways failing to question where we might be doing something wrong or going about something wrong? The same is true in our lives. Many of us will start the year with the best intentions. We're going to set goals in work and sometimes in our personal lives. But as the months go by, we forget to check in. We forget to adjust, realign our strategies to ensure we actually hit them. Well, in the last episode, I shared a personal example of why sometimes this goes awry and why strategic resets are just so damn important. So I'm not going to go over that there because you can watch that video. But what I am going to do is give you something super practical. That's the 5 simple strategies to help you get the results that you want. But before we dive in, let's quickly zoom out and look at why. So in 2017, I was given a ticket to this 4-day Tony Robbins event in Sydney Olympic Park. Now, if you're not familiar with Tony, he's this big personal development giant, physically as well as literally. But at the time, I was super skeptical. The whole thing felt just not very British. And when I walked into the room, people were jumping up and down and singing and rah, rah, rah. And it was like Tony Robbins was this god who walked out into the crowd. And oh my gosh, people were so excited to be there and for him to be there. And I have to admit, I thought, what the hell have I got myself in for here? But those 4 days were unbelievable. And for me, were the start of truly appreciating the value of getting out of the day-to-day, which ironically is now what I'm helping teams do with creating their offsites. Over that 4 days, there were so many tools shared, but one tool in particular stood out. It's what Tony Robbins called his ultimate success formula. So before we jumped into the 5 strategies, I wanted to share a little bit more about that. Now, I plan on going into much more detail in another video, so you can check, it might be available now, you can check it out in the comments, but here it is, or at least some of it. And the part that I really want to zoom in on is this. It's in the noticing of what is and isn't working. It's in the deciding whether or not that goal is still relevant. It's in the changing of our strategy to get us across the finish line. Too often we get stuck and really attached to a strategy, one way of doing something, that we miss that bigger picture. Stephen Bartlett, the host of Diary of a CEO, owner, investor in countless of companies, and the youngest dragon on Dragon's Den, talks about the importance of this in one of his Behind the Diary episodes. He described how sometimes we are like this to the picture, and from that vantage you actually can't see it properly. Hence the importance of stepping back. As leaders, it's our role to help our teams do that. So, the 5 tips. Let's start with number 1. is to lead by example. Now this is a little bit like putting our own oxygen mask on first. I'm going to invite you to check in on yourself first. How are you going against your goals? And use that then to inspire your team to do the same. Suggestion 2 is to schedule regular check-ins. Look, I'd say that this is best to be done every quarter, at least every quarter. So put that in the diary. Now that could be a solo on-site, off-site, essentially where you take yourself outside of the day to check in. It could be in a coffee shop, it could be in a different part of the office, it could be that you've just marked that time in your diary and then you stick to it. Better yet, you could create that for your team. Startups are actually really good at this. Quarterly check-ins are part and parcel of many small businesses. But for some reason, most corporate teams kind of give it a bit of a skip. It's an optional. And sometimes that's because it's a lot of work to bring a team together. I would know, I help leaders do that. But that doesn't still mean that we shouldn't have an opportunity to check in at least once a quarter. What's going on? Which brings me to tip 3, which is to reflect and reset. Now you scheduled in the time. What I want you to do is to reflect. What's working? What's not? What needs to change? Tip 4, it's to try using OKRs. Now, OKRs work for Google. Heck, I think they were actually invented by Google. The OKR framework is an awesome one to set and track ambitious yet achievable goals. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. Or let me know in the comments and I'll create a video on it. How can you get clear on your objectives and key results? Final tip, use the success formula. Set some clear, inspiring goals, develop strategies that can make that happen, and take what Tony Robbins calls massive action. And then reevaluate success, adjust your strategy as needed, and celebrate what's working. Often we are so busy in the day-to-day operations that we think we don't have time. But I want you to think of this as an investment to avoid bigger issues down the road. Look, quarterly reviews and resets are such powerful tools for driving success, both individually, but even more so as a team. But as a leader, it starts with you. So I am here to help. And to do so, I am hosting a 90-minute quarterly strategic planning workshop, an R&R, if you will. You're going to find the link in the description below this video. You're going to be able to grab your spot. We're going to be walking through the exact quarterly planning R&R workbook. But until now, it's only been something I've used for myself, for private clients, and for the teams that I work with. But I really want you to have access to it too. So check out the link. Once you've registered, you'll get that right away. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. I can't tell you how helpful that is to a growing channel. So thank you in advance. And if I leave you with one thing, it's to really consciously create space, however you go about doing it, to check in. Because in doing so, it gives you the off-site advantage. Until next time.